Welcome to another episode of Without Regret, the podcast where we spread positivity and authenticity at the same time. I'm so excited to introduce my guest this week. His name is Bruce, and if you're on TikTok, I'm sure you've seen him. His handle is bwb.positivity. Don't be fooled by the fakes out there. There was only one Bruce W. Brackett. His infectious laugh, his harrowing journey to sobriety, spoiler alert, it wasn't a linear journey, and his commitment to spreading positivity while also being 1000% authentic is his superpower. He's the winner of the Mindfulness and Top Show Fundraiser Awards from the premier Social Media Influencer Awards, the Cheer Choice Awards. And he's now added author to his list of accomplishments with the recent release of his memoir called How to Breathe While Suffocating. So, without further ado, let's hear from Bruce.
Hello, Bruce. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
You're so welcome. I'm really intrigued by this, what you're wearing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's
Cool.
it's kind of blue and green. It looks a little dusty when the light hits the green, but it's
Yeah, it looks like iridescent.
yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
it's this jacket that can kind of turn into a dress. So it's right now it's functioning as a coat. So
Nice.
yeah. And then of course I have my Negativity Be Gone t-shirt
I
on.
love that.
So yeah.
Wait.
Wait.
I had to do it.
I love
that. All right. So you have a book that just came out.
I do. Yeah. Just came out April 9th.
Remind me again what the name of it is.
How to Breathe While Suffocating.
Suffocating. Okay. Whoa. Why did you just switch sides on me? That's weird. You were on the left and now you're on the right.
I'm a shapeshifter. I don't know.
Oh, love your water bottle too. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
I've been really looking forward to this. And I saw that you jumped on yesterday. And I was like,
I
oh
did.
no, did I get it wrong? Oh no, what's happening? And I emailed you and I didn't hear back. And then we had talked about meeting early and I was like, oh no, is he not going to be able to come? I was like, no. So I'm glad.
You know, I've done this so many times before where I'm like, okay, time for my podcast. And I go and I sit down because I think I'm right, which no. And I go and I sit down and I log on and I'm just like waiting and twiddling my thumbs. And then I get the genius idea to look at my calendar.
Oh, okay.
And I'm usually a day early. So
better than a day late.
Yes.
Definitely better than a day late.
And we took time today. We took the day off kind of. And so that's why you didn't hear back from me because I literally I didn't look at my phone because it's, you know, in the middle of a book tour and the Cheer Choice Awards in Vegas and just go. And then when we got here to Palm Springs, I have a book signing tonight in Palm Springs. And I was like, you know what? It's a lot of energy. Let's just relax. I'm here with my friends. Let's unplug. So I took advantage of that and we went around Palm Springs and just enjoyed the shops and the scenery and the sun. It's so good. So yeah.
Not a problem. You're here. And that's what is really important.
Yes.
Is that you showed up. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
I'm very excited to have you. Okay, so let's get into it. So what is the book title about? Tell me what the book is about. Let me just say a little bit. So you want to be a motivational speaker. Yeah, you are, I will say, a motivational speaker, right? And you have this huge presence on TikTok. So what made you want to become a motivational speaker? Just tell us kind of about your life.
Yeah. So it started many years ago. My life started when I was born into detox from drugs and alcohol. And that was the entrance of stepping into this world, which brings on so many different challenges. You know, growing up, I had fetal alcohol effects. It provided learning disabilities. It provided addictive personality, which I did not really step back into until I was around 16 years old. And I got myself in a lot of trouble. I was arrested. I ran away from home. I mean, all of this is in the book, How to Breathe While Suffocating. I dive deep. It's a memoir. So it really just starts at the beginning premise of where it is that I started in my life up until the point that I became sober from crystal meth when I was 22, 23 years old, back in 2014. So I'm approaching 10 years sober from hardcore drugs. And it's really just, it goes through, I walk you through the whole journey from beginning to that point. And for a long time in my life, because especially in my active addiction, I spent so much time hating myself and not forgiving myself and just using that as an excuse to keep using drugs and alcohol or sex work or, whatever addiction it was for me that I would just grab onto and just run with that. And it brought me to a point where I was suffocating in my life. And I mean, in terms of diseases, being diagnosed HIV positive, acute hep C, pneumonia, all at the same time, overdosing and landing in a hospital for the umpteenth time. And, the rock bottom became my rock bottom when I stopped digging. And that was my wake up call. So I felt like I was suffocating so much in my life. And I know that I'm not alone there, which is why I wrote the book, to allow other people to see that they too are not alone in whatever struggle it is that they're going through. You don't have to be an addict to connect to this book. You don't have to be struggling with mental health to connect to this book. It is a journey and it is all encompassing. And so many people feel alone that I was like, you know what? I have a voice. I have been given a gift to use that voice, so I'm going to use it. It really stemmed from a place of listening to other people who came before me, who helped to pull me out of the shadows. And now that I am out of the shadows or out of the flames, I find a responsibility for me to go back with buckets of water to dump put the fire out for those who are still stuck. So that's what I do. And it's what inspired me to become a motivational speaker. And I'm working on becoming a life coach now, going through IAP Career College, where I went to become certified as an international motivational speaker. And I've spoken all over. It's been incredibly rewarding. And I've definitely found my passion and my calling and following that. And I absolutely love what I do. I love to see how people show up for themselves through the vessel of what it is that I do. I'm not taking that credit because they do the work for themselves, just like I had to do for myself. But I also didn't do it alone. There were people that helped me, like therapists, outpatient rehabs, inpatient rehabs, counselors, 12-step meetings, sponsors, my partner Teo, my dear friends that I'm literally in their apartment right now, and they saw me go through all of my addictions. And now here we are, fast forward, and we're doing a book signing tonight, and one of my lifelong friends is going to be the moderator for the book signing. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen in your future if you give up. You're just going to miss all of it. And I was doing that so much that eventually, when I came to the point where I was literally killing myself, I didn't want to die. So I decided to take a deep breath and breathe again. So that's all encompassing of what the book is, how I got the book title, why I became a motivational speaker, and why I'm where I'm at today.
Okay, well, we're done now. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks for having me. Bye. Okay, yeah.
Oh, no, seriously. So, okay, then what was your what the rock bottom you said when you stopped digging, but what was the final thing that just made you go, this is it, I'm done? Was it one thing or were there setbacks?
Oh, there were many setbacks. I'm not a first time winner. Definitely my rock bottom was when I was diagnosed HIV positive. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. That was a rock bottom. And when I was diagnosed HIV positive, I dug deeper because I didn't want to feel that. I didn't know how to deal with it. So I used meth even more. And I went down a very dark road, to the point where then I was overdosing, and my HIV was almost was borderline AIDS, on top of overdosing, getting pneumonia, and being then diagnosed with acute Hep C all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a huge wake up call, and not immediately, but soon after is when I became sober. Almost immediately after getting out of the hospital, I started doing my research of like, okay, I need help. Where can I get help? I don't have insurance, and um I don't have money, and how do I do this? So I started looking through different programs, and I just started Googling it. I was like, where is a addiction center? Where is this? And Addiction Institute of New York popped up. And I did get insurance through a government assisted program so that I was able to attend. And I relapsed quite a bit in the beginning, over and over and over again. But then I was still struggling and showing up, really wanting to get it. And then eventually I just kept going back until I wanted to go back, until I was willing to be ready. I always say this over and over again, but the willingness has to be before you're ready. You have to be willing to be ready, and then the readiness will come. And I just stuck with it. I just didn't give up on myself. And eventually, my wheels were spinning and I wasn't gaining any traction until I just eventually gripped it. I grabbed that desire to want to be better. I grabbed that light within me of like my dreams that I had since I was a little boy, like I grabbed that purpose of who I was and I held on to that with all of my heart. And I allowed other people to start helping me instead of like, I don't deserve it. I don't want it. F you. I don't want to take your advice. You can't help me. Who the hell are you? You don't know what I'm going through. All of these excuses and all of these lies that we tell ourselves. And then eventually I just got out of my own way. I was so sick of it. And I started to accept the help from other people and rehabs, inpatient, outpatient, therapists, counselors, 12-step meetings. I did. I went
like
to any length.
All of those different things just kind of started sinking in.
Yeah.
Over time. Like,
yeah.
Like, I feel like sometimes when I'm trying to lose weight, right? I go on a diet. I'm like, okay, this diet I picked up, I maybe didn't stick to the whole diet, but I picked up drinking a lot of water from that diet. The next diet I picked up, okay, let me limit the amount of sugar I'm taking in. So it's not one all at once, but there's little things that you pick up over time. And then you started to kind of believe in yourself a little bit more and realize that, was there a point that you were like, oh my God, I can do this? And then.
Yeah, definitely. I started almost at the point where I made the decision for myself. I was like, okay, nope, that's it. There was just something in that moment that was so empowering, that light in me that I was talking about, that it became bigger, and there was a greater desire to stay sober than there was to try and get sober again. And when I held on to that, my confidence grew, and I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. Doesn't mean that I didn't go without cravings, or that the thought didn't come up, or the fantasy, or the idea, or like, oh, I've gone in a few weeks, maybe I can try it just once and I can do this in moderation. No, honey, that is not how I operate. I can't have half a cookie. I have to have the whole box. And that's just me. That's just where I'm at, as a self-diagnosed disease through addiction. I just know that I can't do moderation or say that I'm a functioning alcoholic, because no, I am not. I'm not functioning when I put substances in my body. I'm unmanageable. I'm dysfunctional. I am a dumpster fire train wreck. Like it is just not cute. So
I think that's true of most people.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
it is.
kind of my, out of my own personal curiosity, and I can edit this out if you want me to. If you don't care, that's cool too. But I always wonder what, like, we know what crystal meth does to people, right? You've seen it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than me, having kind of been born into that world. Why would you try it in the first place? Like, why would you do that?
So many different reasons.
Yeah.
So many different reasons. It's not like I woke up one Tuesday and was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try some meth. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how that goes. But um there's so many factors. Like my true first addiction was sex and sex work. And uh I just remember that my first time trying it, I was a runaway. I was 16 years old, and I was in Boys Town, Chicago, and I met this guy in Holstead or in a Whole Foods bathroom on Holstead Street, and I was just so sexually addicted and uh, just would have done anything to like be with this person, and I did. And I went over to his place, and he he had it, and that's a part of his lifestyle, and offered it. And of course I lied and said that I've done it before, and I was like, yeah, okay, knowing that and overhearing stories from other people that it heightens the feeling and so I was like, yeah, okay, and I did it. And then um because I'm an addict, I love the feeling. I wanted to chase it, and you never you just never get that high again. You're chasing
Yeah.
something that doesn't exist. It's not real. But when you're in active addiction, you don't see that, and you're so selfish that you'll do anything for it.
Are there
Um,
people that can do that casually?
I
Because
think I
that's what
okay.
I wonder, is that, because I want to say no judgment here whatsoever. I hope you realize that. But it is a curiosity that I've had.
Mhm.
Like, I learned, or was told at a very young age in elementary school, that the first time you do cocaine, you get addicted. That's just the way it is. And that's what I grew up believing. And now I know that's not true,
Yeah.
right? But so I'm probably kind of putting, obviously, meth in that same boat. And I imagine
Oh
that
yeah.
you probably have
Yeah.
people do it casually and not become the total addict.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
But the thing that I have to say is, can you casually drink gasoline?
No, I can't. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Can you casually just go ahead and light yourself on fire? It's like, would you really want to? So like when we say casually, it makes it seem like we're still not doing harm to ourselves, whether you're an addict or not. You're still dumping every single
Definitely.
chemical under the sink and doing it. So I think there's nothing casual about it. But yes, there are people who can do it one time and never touch it again, like, or they, so it, to each their own. But when I hear someone say that, it literally translates to me like, oh yeah, I went out this weekend and I set myself on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that you did that. It's the weirdest thing. And the same with alcohol. It is so socially acceptable. It's almost to the point where on this side of it, it's almost taboo, that it's so socially acceptable, but yet it's taboo to have mocktails in bars. Like that hasn't been introduced to be inclusive yet, which is so bizarre to me. Like we were
Mhm.
just in Vegas and we went to a restaurant and they were saying, because we asked, hey, can you make any of these cocktails a mocktail? And they're like, oh no, unfortunately, we're not that fancy. And I'm like, it doesn't have, like, as my friends were saying, it doesn't have to, it doesn't make it fancy. It makes it a choice, and it is a choice to not be inclusive for someone who's going into a bar that
Yeah.
doesn't want to necessarily drink alcohol, but they still want to have a drink.
Yeah.
Like, and they're missing a whole window of opportunity of making money in that department. But
Oh,
anyway,
definitely. Yeah.
I digress. But it is it's just very weird to me, because when you tip over a glass of spirit and you throw a match on it, it's flammable. It
Yeah.
will combust. Why do we put that in our body? And for me, I put it in my body because it immediately gets me out of my body, because it gets me out of whatever it is that I'm feeling that I don't want to feel. It's an escape. And that is what becomes addicting. That feeling of not being, that numbness. It feels
Mhm.
better than whatever pain I'm trying to avoid. Or, so, and that's where I die. That there is no silver lining there.
Mhm.
That's where it will take me. My active addiction, no matter what it is, wants me dead. And that's the seriousness of it. So when my life becomes unmanageable and I start losing friends and I start losing money, or I start putting my money before what it is that I really should be paying for, like my phone bill or food or
Yeah.
transportation or something, or I put my addiction in front of anything, that's the first thing I lose. And it's so true. It leads to me being arrested. It leads to me getting DUIs. It leads to hospitals and jails and rehabs. And the only thing that it hasn't brought me to yet, but pretty damn close, is death.
And it won't, because you're not going to go back there.
No, never say never, but I'm daily making the choice to not go back there,
Mhm.
because I do know, I have to play the tape forward. What is it going to do to me if I pick up that drug or that drink, or play the tape back? What happened to me the last time I did that? I have to play the tape all the way through. And just, I constantly remember that it is so much easier to stay sober than it is to try and get sober again.
Right. Right. So I mean, all you've thrown out rehab, 12-step programs, all that stuff, but I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into this whole scenario where you're no insurance, no money, and you start Googling and looking for places that you can go. And so how did you end up getting the insurance? Was it free for you? Were you able to get it without having to pay a premium for it?
Yeah, so there is a lot of help out there. There are a lot of programs, there are a lot of resources. People tend to, I believe that there's a lot more good than there is bad in the world. And we
I think
only,
that too.
we only hear the you turn on the news and it's nothing but negativity
Mhm.
and horrible and the world's ending and blah blah blah. But there's so much good out there that they're not broadcasting, that they're not sharing. The story on the street is health insurance sucks in this country, and there is no help and there is no way
Mhm.
around it, which, I mean, is kind of true. But there are resources, and I started out with the community health centers, the LGBT centers. They have a list of resources that you can go to, that you can receive help on a sliding scale, if not for free. You might have to pay a little bit of something, but it's not going to be $500. It's not going to
Mhm.
be, it's going to be a lot more affordable. There are therapy programs where you literally pay $10 a session, which is even a lot of money for some people.
Yeah.
Comparatively, like, we have no idea what someone is able to work with. But
Mhm.
there are resources. I highly recommend going to your local community center, whether it's LGBT or just a community health center. You can call 988 and ask for resources. SAMHSA of the United States has an endless list of resources that people can go to, whether it's mental health, addiction, home crisis, where you're trying to get out of a domestic violence situation, or you're just homeless. There are so many programs out there that people just, they get stuck in thinking that there is no help, so they don't actively start looking and digging deeper or asking the questions to someone else. I'm sure that there are a lot of dead ends, and I'm sure that there are a lot of loose. I'm sure that there are a lot of dead ends depending on your demographic, where you are.
Where were you?
Where was I when I got help?
Living when you got help? Yeah, when you were doing all this Googling and research. I know you said something about New York
Yes,
being the center, but is that where you were living at the time?
Yeah, I was living in New York City when I started to get sober and to receive the help, which New York City has a plethora of resources, you know. But I also received help in little tiny Butte, Montana, going through the community health center, where they do not have a lot of resources, but they still have access to what it is that is needed within that area. So we can come up with so many different excuses to allow ourselves to stop doing the hard work in order to get the help that we need. You know, but a lot of the times you just have to keep asking the questions. Eventually you're going to run into someone who has an answer or has a direction that they can point you into to the resource. And I, you know, in getting help in New York City can be hard as well, because so many people need it. So
right.
You really just have to be your own advocate and just keep showing up for yourself and continue doing the research. I did not stop. I did not let anything stop me. I didn't have money. I didn't have insurance. And then I found the insurance that, you know, that I qualified for that would be able to help provide with health insurance, with helping with rent. There are insurances out there that will pay your rent depending on your qualifications. And I had no idea about that, you know. I was on HASA because I got qualified for that because I was HIV positive, and I had no idea that there was a program out there for that. So you really have to dig deep, ask the questions, and don't stop until you get the answer that you really want.
And don't give up on yourself, like you said.
Yeah.
Yourself. Yeah. So that's not, so no excuses.
Yeah, no,
definitely no excuses.
So, someone's going to tell you that you don't qualify because you don't make enough money or you make too much money. You know what? I F that. Continue on, look under the next rock.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going, keep moving forward, as I always say, because there is so much good coming your way. You're never going to find it if you stop looking.
Now, all of these programs, are they all government based, or are there private programs out there that are based?
Yeah, HASA is government. There are independent nonprofits. There are organizations that are private. There are a lot of really great people out there who just have endless money, and this is what they do, you know? So
yeah, thank God for them.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, one day I hope to be doing the same thing for those who did that for me. So I'm not currently made of money, but doesn't mean that I won't be in the future. So yeah, it's you know, the government isn't all bad.
It's not all bad. I agree.
No.
Yeah.
Social
programs get a bad rap, but they definitely have their purpose.
Absolutely. And they kept me alive. They kept me medicated with my medicine that I needed to keep me alive. They kept me housed. They kept me fed. I'm very grateful for them in that time of my life, because I have no idea what or where I would be without that assistance.
Probably dead, unfortunately.
Yeah, very true.
In this world, you know, you're putting so much joy and happiness out into the world right now that would have been a shame
It really would have
At
been.
least in the
Yeah.
TikTok world, you know.
Yeah, social media really kind of changed my life in so many different ways. It propelled me into the career that I am in today. It has helped with my own choosing of the power of positivity and just what that has led to. It's a domino effect. Once I started to really manifest positivity and made that choice every single day. I am not a naturally positive person. I struggle. I have my mental health. It is not rainbows and sunshine all the time. I literally choose every single day to get out of my own head and choose positivity. And because I manifest that and I do the active work for that, it's amazing what comes back to me. I mean, 1.4 million followers on social media across all platforms. And it's led me to motivational speaking. It's led me to life coaching. It's led me to having my book published by one of the world's leading publishers. It's led me to my purpose, and I am so grateful for that. It's that platform. My platforms is it's not about me. It's not about being an influencer. I do not consider myself an influencer. I consider myself an advocate and a safe space for those who are going through something that I'm going through. We're not alone. It's a two-way street. And that's the mission. That's the movement. And it's working. So because it's working and because I can see that it's I'm not only changing my life for the better, but I see that it's changing others for the better.
Mhm.
And we need more positivity in the world. Why would I get rid of that? So it's I'm so grateful. I'm so humbled, and I, I almost every day I'm like, wow, this is my life that I worked really hard for.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely don't want to take away from the work, or take put the message out there that it's easy to get where you are now from where you were, because it's
Yeah.
definitely not easy. And that's, I think, the biggest stumbling block is, how do you find the strength when you're in that dark place? Like, where did that strength come from for you, do you think?
Well, I've had really really amazing parents. My mom and dad, my adoptive mom and dad taught me that I am loved and it is okay to be loved. And when I wanted to do theater and just be me, they never tried to dim me. They never told me, like you're very flamboyant. You might want to
Tone it down.
tone it down, turn it down. Yeah, they never ever dimmed my shine or got in my way. They always encouraged me. They always led with love. And that, coming from a very abusive um, birth home with those traumas, physical abuse, sexual abuse, being discarded, going through foster care system, um, leads a lot of trauma. And just because you're removed from that trauma doesn't mean that it's gone. It follows you
Yeah.
forever. You just have to do the work to know how to deal with it and how to let that go and move forward. It doesn't mean it's not gone. I'm still dealing with it. I still go to therapy,
Yeah.
which therapy is for everyone, by the way. It's not just for the sick and suffering. But I had a lot of love and a lot of support. And because my parents said I couldn't, they said I can. That really gave me a light and dreams and goals. And, there are other authors out there who really just, they use their voice for good. And that inspired me to be like, oh my God, I heard myself in their story. That's me. And I didn't feel alone anymore. Oh my, I have that story. Maybe I can do the same thing one day. And then fast forward, and a lot of hard work and dedication and consistency and a lot of falling on my face and getting up and brushing myself off and trying again, and ignoring the rejection after a while. Once you learn that rejection isn't rejection, it's redirection towards your yes. So keep going and you will find your yes. Once I learned that, I, I mean, you're unstoppable.
That's incredible. So you were adopted. How old were you when you were adopted?
Yes, my sisters and I were removed from our birth home because of abuse and
Yep.
everything. You know, you're not removed from your birth home because of little things. It has to be something big. Uh, so I went through foster care from the ages of 3.5 to 6. Um, we were very fortunate and only went through 2 foster homes. The first one we stayed with for about 6 months, and then we transferred to the second one, and the second one ended up being our adoptive parents. So they adopted us, and we were kept together, which
That's
is
awesome.
unheard of. Like in that world, the foster care and adoption world, larger groups of siblings usually are split up and not kept together, and children go their whole adolescence up until 18, and then they graduate out of the foster care system, and then they have no place to go, so they go straight from foster care to shelters. Like we did not have that experience, and I am very aware that I am one lucky human being to have that. So we went through, up until I was about 6.5, 6.5, and then they adopted us.
So did they try to get you guys help or any kind of therapy when you were younger, or was
I
that just
wasn't, yeah, I was immediately placed into trauma therapy when I ended up with Glenn and Christine, my mom and dad. They had the resources, they had the financial ability. Um, the government was helping out as well.
yeah.
But immediately we were all placed in trauma therapy.
Why do you think you still went down the path that you went, even though you had that help and the great family? Is it is that strong?
Um, Girl, I went through puberty. I went I went through puberty, and little gay Brucey in little tiny Montana with not many people that I could relate to or identify with. I lost my mind. Like I said, my first addiction was sex, and
Right, yeah.
I wasn't getting any in Montana, that's for sure. So I was like, I'm gonna pack my bags, run away, and I'm gonna find it, and I did. No, I I joke about a darker situation, but
That's okay.
yeah, and a lot of this is in my book too. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
a huge part of the book actually. Um,
I cannot wait to read it. I think it's coming tomorrow.
oh yay! Oh thanks. Ah, that means the world to me. Let's see, chapter 7 through chapter 14. So 7 chapters of 18 chapters um, are about the time that I ran away and
Okay.
all of the different cities I went to. But at 16, I was going through puberty at the height of my puberty, and I just mentally disassociated and checked out and was in a very dark, unhealthy place and thought I knew it all. And
Hmm.
F my parents who are giving me everything that I've ever wanted and loved, and I don't deserve that. I want to be a sex slave for some stranger that that's where my mind was. So I took that and I ran with it, literally. And I went to Denver, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Chicago, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas. I went all over the place. Um, as a sex worker and strung out on drugs. And over the course of like a month and a half, I went to all of these different cities and really reintroduced myself to my chemically induced addictions.
Hmm.
And I then in Las Vegas was really, I mean, the chapter is called Las Vegas Do or Die. And again, I had that rock bottom moment and I chose to do instead of die. So I called my mom, and I was technically, I guess I was arrested and taken to a shelter, and my dad flew down for the second time to pick me up during this runaway excursion, where I was taken home and placed into juvenile detention center and went through that. Then from that, went to a group home where I went through the group home for 7 months. And um, right across the street was a dance academy, Dee and Todd, Dynamic Dance and Tumbling Academy. My parents were like, "You clearly need a lot more discipline than what we're able to give you. So you're going to be in ballet 6 hours a day after school. Good luck." Which, by the way, worked. If your kid is losing their mind, force them into ballet, because they will learn some discipline there, not only physical but mental discipline. Probably one of the greatest things my parents did. I mean, really, and as a theater kid, I loved it, and I absolutely. So it wasn't
I imagine
necessarily.
not everybody would love it like you did.
I don't. It wasn't a punishment for me, where I imagine it kind of would be for a lot of people, especially if you don't have a natural act for it. Then, oh, good God! But bless you. So yeah, I was really fortunate in that regard. That my parents just had the love to have those moments of tough love and not enable and force me to go down the road. And once I got out of the group home, once I got back home and I went through juvenile detention center and the group home, I sobered up, and I graduated high school, something I thought I never would do, with a GPA of like 3.7. Like, what? Like, for Bruce? Like, are you kidding me? That was insane. And those dreams and those goals came back to me, and I was like, I'm going to move to New York City and just be a Broadway dancer and follow my dreams. And I did, but not for long, because I listened to the rejection and fell back into old habits, and just the cycle continued. Like I said earlier, I'm not a first time winner. It's taken me many times to relearn a lesson before I really get it. So once I sobered up from hardcore drugs, I then found alcohol, and that took me down a road, because I've only had a problem with hardcore drugs. I've never had a problem with alcohol. No, Bruce is an addict across the board. So now I know that. And I'm in my first year of recovery from alcohol, and I'm 100% sober, and I am.
You're in that right now, your first year?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Can I ask how old you are?
33.
33. Okay. So you stopped using crystal meth at 23.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years of no crystal meth, but you were still drinking alcohol during that time, or had taken up alcohol.
I started to drink, like drink where I was like, oh, okay, I have a problem with alcohol, because before I truly didn't. I did have a problem with it. I just wasn't aware of it yet, and it wasn't wrecking my life. But as an addict, of course, yeah. But I would say about 2 years after I sobered up from hardcore drugs, and I did all of the hardcore drugs: meth, coke, crack, cocaine, ketamine, MDMA, mall. Like, I mean, I'm sure I did heroin without realizing it. So after I sobered up from that, about 2 years later, I really realized that I had a problem with alcohol. Before I knew it, I was addicted, drinking in the morning, going to work drunk, losing clients left and right. As it started to take my life away again.
What was work at that point?
I owned a cleaning company.
Okay.
So I would go in, and with my friend that I'm here with, actually, we were in business together. We co-owned a company called Have Bruce Do It, a cleaning company. And we did a lot of different things, but our main bread and butter was cleaning, and we would do dog walking, animal care, and catering for, birthday parties and whatnot, just as cater waiters. So towards the end there, I really was showing up to work drunk, if not stealing my clients' alcohol and just getting excuse me, just getting bombed at work. One of the last times, my partner Teo had to, because the client came home and found me passed out on the floor with the vacuum in my hand and his bottle of whiskey in the other. Like, and he went through my phone to call Teo, and he came to pick me up, threw me over his shoulder, took me to the hospital because yet again I put myself in yet another chemically induced coma. That's what a blackout is. And overdosing from alcohol. And I was just, that was really the last time for that. But it um
When did you decide to write the book? How long did it take you to write the book?
when I was really, really dedicated to writing it, it took me about an hour or an hour and a half. It took, yeah, I just like did a whole bunch of no, I just like typed it out fiercely. It took me about a year and a half to really, really sit down, dedicate my time to it, and finish it. But I started it when I was 18 years old, moving to New York City, is when I first started writing it. And then, of course, I, smoked meth and got distracted and put that dream up on a shelf and let it get dusty for a while. And then I would take it down and start again and, back and forth. But when I sobered up from alcohol, and I've had relapses since then, like I said, I'm in my first year again. But yeah, I would say a solid year and a half of true dedication. About 6 months into writing it, maybe 8 months into writing it, is when Wiley Publishing reached out to me and being like, "Hey, been following you online now for about a month. Love what you do. Have you ever considered writing a book?" And I was like, "Well, little did you know, I'm actually in the middle of writing one." And it was just a few days later, they sent me a contract to review, and I signed the contract. And then it was about 10 months of, I guess it took me maybe several months, 4 or 5 months after that to finish writing the book. And then a good 6 to 8 months. I'm losing track of time, but 6 to 8 months of the whole editing process, the proofreading, the editors, the design, the designing of the book, the all of everything that goes into it, which I had no idea.
Did you have a book coach?
I had a team of about 30 people on this project. So we had about 6, 7 different editors, a proof editor, a line editor, marketing team. We had the VP publisher, the person that oversees all of the projects. We had, I mean, it was just, and then of course they have assistants under them, and they have a whole team by that. So yeah, there was about 30 people working on this book, and it is just so beautiful. I love it so much.
It is beautiful.
I'm so proud of it. And once I started, I was nervous, but once I started seeing the reviews come in on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and just seeing the text messages or the DMs or the emails come in from just what people resonate with, the nervousness went away. But I mean, I dive in, and I share things that I've only shared with the therapist before. There are things in here that Teo didn't even know about until he was helping me go through and re-edit. And like it really, I really,
was it therapeutic to write the book?
Absolutely. Of course it was hard, and there were moments where I had to step away from it, but it really was to be fully honest and just get it out of me, put it on paper and let it go, was huge. And whether you're wanting it to be published or not, you do this in a way of journaling. Get it out of you in whatever way. Put it on paper, write it out, burn it when you're done with it. Who cares? But get it out. voice record it, get it out of you, do video blogs, whatever it is that's going to work. And in some way, that's what this was for me, with also the idea attached to it that I really want this to help other people feel less alone, and that they can forgive themselves, and they can see that no matter what struggle it is that they're going through, that they can too overcome and recover. They can climb that mountain and get to the summit. They can, so that's why. And I sit here and I look at it, and I still have to kind of pinch myself, and like, it happened, like my life could have gone and has gone in so many other directions, not for the better. I have 50 minutes until I'm showing up to a book signing. Like, what?
Is this your first one?
No, this will be my second one. Yeah, the book tour started on April 9th, the day that the book came out in San Francisco. And then I went to the Cheer Choice Awards in Las Vegas, and I won 2 awards there.
Awesome. What is the Cheer Choice Awards?
Like, sobriety will give you everything. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And I had a fear of living sober. And then once I started to get sober, my life is unrecognizable. And there are the promises, and they do come true. It's amazing. So the Cheer Choice Awards is a award show that's hosted in Las Vegas. And it is an award show celebrating people of promoting positivity or better change in the world. And it's a pretty big award show. It's fairly new. This was their 3rd year doing it. And I was nominated last year, but I didn't really find out until the voting was done. So I didn't qualify, but I went anyway out of respect for those who nominated me. And I had a really great time. So this year when I was nominated, I opened it up to the public, and I was like, hey, vote for me. It's public voting. This is what I'm nominated for, and here we go again. So then because it's on the way down to Palm Springs with all of the different cities I'm doing for the book tour, just lined up. And so I went, and I was nominated for the Mindfulness Award and Top Show Fundraiser, and I won both of them.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I didn't even know that existed. Now my mission is to get involved in that, to get nominated, because I want to promote positivity. That's what this is all about, is
absolutely,
telling the stories of people like you who have been in these unimaginable situations and now are out of it and are shining their beautiful light in the world. And I just love those stories. And I've been there myself, right? So I'm, once you come out of it and you're on that other side and you feel that energy, it's like you just want to share it. You just want everybody to feel what you're feeling, because it feels so amazing. I gotta work on that.
Absolutely. You can't keep it if you don't give it away.
Yeah. Well, I have one final question for you before I let you go, because I know you've got somewhere to be. How I struggle with my social media. How do you find time to do all of your content?
Well,
do you have a full-time job? Let me ask, like a 9 to 5, like the rest of us?
No, this is my full-time job.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is a full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah.
For the most part, I do film day by day, and whatever comes to me, that's the video that I record and I post and put it out in the world. But I do sometimes, when I have a lot of gusto and a lot of energy, I will record 6-10 videos in one day, just so I have a little like memory bank of videos where, when I'm not feeling like showing up, or I just want to take a few days off, then I'll go through and I'll post those videos that I pre-recorded, and I'll save them in my drafts. But there are so many
days. It's not just recording though. There's the editing and learning how to use the tools, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Coming up with the concept and coming up with the content, editing it, promoting it, marketing it. emails, being your own manager. Like I don't have a team. My partner Teo is my team. So we do this together. I don't have an agent. I don't have a manager other than Teo's help. Like, we're figuring this out, and we're figuring it out as we go.
And
which
killing
is
it.
And a beautiful thing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's and I don't know how this happened. I think being authentic and showing the truth of the good and the bad, like I really try not to just be like, I'm in recovery and everything's amazing. Like, that's not what it is. I wake up and I want to die some days, and then I go through spells of depression that last for weeks on end, or, I relapse and I get a DUI, and I share all of that because that's what we're missing in the world. I really have a hard time connecting with people who just show up all the time and they're just like promoting that everything is amazing. I'm like, girl, no, it's not.
Yeah.
I knew, like I know it's not, and I really want to show that there is the good and the bad, and we're all going through this, and make it relatable, make it real, make it authentic, because that's what people need. And
that is what people need, because if they're constantly bombarded with this, I guess the term now is toxic positivity, right? Then they think there's something wrong with me because I don't feel that way.
Exactly. And it is detrimental to someone's mental health when they're constantly, because then they're comparing themselves to
comparisons, exactly,
to these fake people online. And don't compare yourself to anyone, because you'll become bitter. Compare yourself to yourself and you will become so much better. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I show the whole spectrum of what it is that I go through, because I'm not doing anyone a service. I'm doing a disservice, not only for them, but also to myself, by not being me. It's just not how the world works.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a deep breath.
Breathe.
And have a fabulous time at your book signing tonight. I'm so proud of you. So happy for you.
Thank you so much.
And I will be in touch, because even if it's just to cheer you on with your book and tell you congratulations and how much I loved it after I read it.
Thank you. That means the world to me. And thank you so much for having me be in your space here, and for allowing me to be a part of your world here and sharing this platform. It's we talked about a lot, and we went down the road, but it's good, and it's refreshing to be able to have a candid conversation like this. So thank you so much for your time and for having me.
You're very welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye-bye.
I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to Without Regret, the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe. Leave me a review wherever you get your podcast. That would be really awesome, because that's how my podcast is going to get noticed. So that would be a huge help, or share it on your social media would be awesome as well. Thank you so much. This podcast is a Without Regret production, which is produced by me. Artwork is by me. Everything's by me except for that theme song. That's by a guy named Michael Bergoglio. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Without Regret Podcast, and on Instagram at without_regret_podcast. Thanks again.